Hello, dear friends, and welcome. Have you ever, even for a moment, felt small and all alone in the world, wishing you had just one true friend who truly understood you? If you have, then today's story is especially for you. Come with me to a tranquil farm where a most unlikely friendship blossomed and gave birth to miracles no one could have ever imagined. Our story begins with a little piglet named Wilbur. He came into the world under rather special circumstances, being the runt of the litter, the smallest and weakest of all his siblings. It seemed his fate was sealed from the start, but a kind-hearted little girl named Fern pleaded with her father and was allowed to adopt him. Wilbur's first days were filled with happiness, cradled in Fern's loving care. But as Wilbur grew, he had to move to a large barn on Mr. Zuckerman's farm. The place was vast, home to geese, sheep, and many other animals. Yet, Wilbur felt more lonely than ever. He was just the new piglet, with no one to play with. Each day he would simply sigh and whisper to himself, "Is there anyone here who wants to be my friend? I'm so lonely." And then, one evening, as Wilbur huddled in a corner of his pen, feeling the loneliness about to swallow him whole, a soft voice suddenly echoed from the shadows. "Hello there! Don't be sad. I will be your friend." Wilbur looked around, bewildered. Who was that? Where did that voice come from? The next morning, as the first rays of sunlight pierced through the barn, Wilbur looked up and finally found his mysterious friend. It was a beautiful grey spider suspended in a glistening web that looked as if it were woven from threads of silver and diamonds. "Oh, hello!" Wilbur exclaimed in amazement. "What's your name?" The spider replied gracefully. "My name is Charlotte. It's a pleasure to meet you, Wilbur." From that day on, Wilbur was no longer alone. He had Charlotte. Every day he would tell her all about the world on the ground, and in return, Charlotte would share her stories from high above. But their joy was short-lived. One day, Wilbur overheard a terrible secret from the other animals. When winter arrived, the farmers planned to turn him into Christmas dinner. Wilbur's tiny heart felt like it was breaking. He sobbed his heart out and ran to Charlotte's web. "Oh, Charlotte, I don't want to die. I love this life. I want to live." Charlotte wasn't frightened. She moved closer, gently patting her trembling friend with one of her small legs. In a voice that was firm and full of confidence, she said, "Wilbur, look at me. You don't need to worry. I will not let that happen. I promise I will save you." And that, my friends, is the first and most wonderful secret this story teaches us. The promise of a true friend holds immeasurable power. Charlotte was not a spider with extraordinary magic. She couldn't fight, nor could she break down the barn door for Wilbur to escape. No, her magic came from her intelligence, her patience, and her incredibly kind heart. She decided to use the one thing she did best, her silk. For many nights, while the entire farm was deep in sleep, Charlotte worked tirelessly. She began to weave words into her web, and one morning, everyone from Mr. Zuckerman to the neighbours stood in awe as they saw a clear message shimmering in the web, "Some pig." The whole area was buzzing with excitement. No one had ever seen such a wondrous thing. People came from all over to see Wilbur. He was no longer just an ordinary pig, he was a star. But Charlotte wasn't finished. A few days later, a new word appeared, terrific, and then another, radiant. Do you see, little ones? The miracle Charlotte created was so simple, yet so profound. And this reveals the second secret. Kind words possess a miraculous power. They can change the way people see someone entirely. Thanks to this newfound fame, Wilbur was taken to the county fair. There he won a special medal and his life was officially saved. He would be allowed to live a long and happy life. Overjoyed, Wilbur rushed to Charlotte to share the good news, but he noticed that the little spider looked very, very tired. After pouring all her remaining strength into weaving her final webs and creating an egg sac her future, Charlotte was exhausted. She spoke to Wilbur in a weak but peaceful voice. "Wilbur, I've kept my promise. I can rest now. Will you help me bring my egg sac back to the farm?" Tears welled up in Wilbur's eyes. He understood. This was the great circle of life. Charlotte had given her entire life to save his. And here lies the third and deepest lesson. Love and sacrifice for another is the greatest gift of all. Wilbur carefully carried Charlotte's precious egg sac back to the barn. Throughout the long cold winter, he guarded it as if it were his most priceless treasure. Then, the warmth of spring finally arrived. One morning, from inside the sack, hundreds of tiny baby spiders emerged. Wilbur was overjoyed. He had kept his promise to Charlotte. A few days later, most of the young spiders sailed away on the breeze to start their own new lives. Wilbur felt a pang of sadness, but then he noticed that 3 little spiders had chosen to stay. They began weaving their own webs right next to his pen. Wilbur was never lonely again. In his heart, he would forever carry the memory of Charlotte, and right beside him, he now had new friends, the children of the best friend he had ever known. And so, our story comes to a close. A simple tale, yet it leaves us with timeless lessons. That true friendship can be found in the most unexpected of places. That kind words have the power to change the world, and that great love and beautiful memories will live on forever. Thank you for watching my video, dear friends. Remember to subscribe to our channel so we can meet again for more wonderful stories. Until next time, goodbye.